Yo, good morning. What's going on, everyone? It's Wednesday, 11 o'clock. Whenever I'm available, I try to throw somebody cool in here like Omar. It's Coffee with Creators. Behind us is not a green screen. This is 42 West 18th Street right here in New York, one of the greatest cities in the world. You've documented it quite well yourself. We'll get into that. But you're always welcome here. Don't forget that. Check out Adorama events on YouTube for all the stuff that's streamed out of here. That's another channel. You're going to want to check that out. Plus the new cinema channel. I'll plug all this stuff later. I know you guys want to just get into this, but check out this QR code over here for future events. If you guys are coming to New York, schedule it accordingly. But right now, I want to say a quick thank you to Peak Design for sponsoring this. I think they speak for themselves at this point, right? Like, you've been to any photo nerd related thing, there's Peak Design everywhere. Really innovative backpacks, which I think have been changing the designs for the last few years of other brands, and really innovative stuff, innovative materials, really great stuff. Check out Peak Design. They just are about to launch their new roller case for traveling, which is a big deal. And like, how nerdy is that? Like, oh my God, they're going to launch a roller case, but that's how invested people are in a brand like this. So check out the links down below for everything Peak Design. And I also want to thank Gotham Roasters for the coffee. Cheers, kid.
Yeah.
Boom. What'd you get?
Double espresso.
Class.
Way to go.
Pure class. I like longer. Like, I usually go for an Americano so I can drink it for longer.
Ice in your coffee? That's wrong.
Oh, you want to talk about this stuff?
Let's talk about that stuff.
But if you guys are coming to an event here at Adorama, Gotham is literally one block over on 19th Street. Go up there, say what's up, tell them Adorama sent you, then come here for a class, chill out. It's also really good coffee, so I appreciate them. And I like supporting people on the block. You know, I think it's important to do that. All right, enough with the blah, blah, blah. This guy, Omar Robles. I feel like Omar's been around forever, but his work's been very prolific. Omar, you're a dancer. You were or still are a dancer yourself. You shoot with dancers, but it's not just the dancers. I mean, you really look at landscapes, the environment, the time of day, the mood, the tone. It's not just like, I think we were talking about this. Dance photography gets so tacky so easily. And I think you have an elegance and respect level for the dancer, for the form, but also what's around that dance. I'm getting texted like crazy. Is something wrong with the stream? No, okay. It's my mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom. But really, I'm going to actually pull up your Instagram right now. Let's talk about not just Omar Robles, the photographer, but like what led you from dancing to shooting it. And also, what is it? I feel like you have like, this is going to sound really weird and creepy, but a romance for it. Like, you actually really love the image making. You have a respect and like a romance for the form. And I think you guys will get it from the tone. So tell me, how did this get going for you?
I mean, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me here. I'm super happy to be here with Adorama. Adorama is basically family to me, and happy to join you guys for this conversation. And I love the way that you described my work, because oftentimes you do the work that you do and you don't really realize how people are perceiving it and receiving it. And the way you described it, I think it really sums it up. You know, to try to like summarize it in a certain way, you know, I started my relationship with the human body, I think, and storytelling very early on in my life. When I was a kid, I loved telling jokes and doing magic tricks, and eventually I discovered gymnastics.
Interesting.
So I was a gymnast growing up, and you know, my GI Joes, I remember my GI Joes were always like jumping and doing somersaults and flying through the air. Like, I've always had like, and as you very well like talked about it, it's like kind of a romance with like, you know, anti-gravity and that sense of you know, like lightness that you can get. So when I discovered mime theater, which is specifically what I trained as a mime for, you know, over 10 years. I trained with Marcel Marceau in France, and I performed for several years. And one of my teachers, specifically the dance teacher, actually, he used to talk about, and I love that way, because I love that they use that word romance, because he used to say that you have to be in love with the lines. Like, you really have to love like the aesthetic and the lines that you can reach with your body. And yeah, man, like, you know, it's a long-winded story why I ended up, you know, finding photography, even though I was always very much interested in the image and in image creation, and mime is very much in that line of, you know, visual image creation. You're not using words, you're not necessarily using even music to create a story. You're just using your body language. And it's a very codified one, right? So I can tell you the story of how I ended up, you know, discovering photography. But when I discovered photography, that I started as a photojournalist, and I started eventually doing street photography because it was always interesting to me to create stuff for other people. It's like I had no problem, creating stuff for like a magazine or a newspaper. But when it came time to my personal work, I actually was very afraid of photographing people just for me.
As a photojournalist, you were afraid of.
Because I've always been like rather introverted. You cannot see it now maybe, but I used to be very introverted. Hey, I was a mime, I didn't speak for a reason. So when I was doing assignments as a photojournalist, I had the the magazine or the newspaper behind me, so there was like a valid excuse, a valid reason why I was photographing someone, why I had to like confront or
you were
be
about the
in front of
assignment,
someone.
not the person.
Exactly.
Got it.
But when I discovered street photography, I was like, you know what, this is a way for me to get over that fear and then face it head on and start like really being in contact with people. So by the time I was living in Chicago, I started photographing people like every day, and like I learned a lot about street photography, about the laws, about the ethics, about everything, and I started going out every day with my camera photographing people. Long story short, came over to New York City, moved to New York City, and I, at some point after photographing the streets for a while, I started thinking there's something missing here. I love the rhythm, I love everything that's happening in New York, but there's something missing, and there was like an element of fantasy or dreaming, that was missing. So I started actually the series photographing myself. It was a self-portrait series, and I would, place myself in the same places that I would be photographing, people in the streets, but then do like stylized jumps and kind of like levitating poses. At some point, it got really difficult to be in front of the camera and behind the camera, and that's like a really good way to get your gear, like stolen. so and realistically, also I was,
Did you get it stolen? Did
No,
you get your
no,
gear? Oh, I was about to say,
no.
like,
But it's you're always nervous because you're putting your camera on a tripod, then you have to run, then you have to jump, then you have to go back, and it was like
That's
a
fun.
whole deal. So at some point, and then realistically, I got to be honest, I was coming of age, so to speak. So it's difficult to like keep jumping and do certain things, and that's why I decided to work with dancers.
Plus you knew
And
them all, right?
no, I didn't know.
Oh, no.
Because I was just moving to New York City. But what happened though was there was this dancer that I saw, met through social media. Her name is Claudia Sakshevsky, and she, I reached out to her. I went out and had a session with her, and then she started introducing me to some of her friends, and from there it really kind of like snowballed to basically today. And yeah, every time I approach dance, I approach it with this passion and this enamored for the human body, because there's so much we can do. Like our bodies are so expressive.
That's what you can do. I mean, this stiff guy. Well, when I look at your shots, what I realize is that split moment took years to get to. I mean, when you see a ballet dancer point, stretch. I mean, I remember when you realize how long and what it really took to get to that, just that split second of life to exist. And then that's our job, right? Like that's our job to immortalize it. So I think, and there's a respect level that you have because I think you've been through it. And I think a lot of photographers that haven't been through whatever they're photographing, like I shoot a lot of special effects. I'm like, put me in a life cast. Let me see what these guys go through. Do it like the 5-6 hours of makeup. I sat through it. I'm like, you start shooting it differently. You start realizing the things that are a little differently more important. And it's our job to kind of bring that to the forefront. But I think you and me share a very weird commonality. I spent my early career shooting BMX in the street. And the environment to me was just as important as what was going on. And I feel that in your work. The other thing, now that you just said it, I had a lot of strobes all over the street, duct taped to poles and stuff. And yeah, that'll get your gear stolen pretty quick. But I think it's very interesting the way you look at something. Like you do, I know you look for the puddles and the reflections, but a lot of times in your work, I'm noticing if that dancer's doing a straight line, you're looking for a straight line. Like if their leg goes straight, let me get it next to a street sign. So it's not just anywhere in the world, that's the Lower East Side.
Yeah.
And I think that's so awesome. I could see people getting connected to it, even if they don't dance, if they're just into urban photography. It is a form of street photography because in some of your shots, there's people reacting to it. I mean, you're kind of causing a scene.
Yeah.
Except in New York, we're all like used
Except
to it.
in
We
New
just
York,
go to
we're
work,
just used
right?
to it, yeah.
Do you feel like a responsibility when you shoot? Like this dancer is putting it on me to, because how many times can they jump?
Oof.
How much can they really stretch for you? How much
Yeah.
life do they have? Like a 5-year span of really being at the top?
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting topic because me having trained as a dancer and as a gymnast, I really know how much I can like, I don't like to use the word squeeze, but how much I can really move, towards a certain goal, and I know exactly when to stop.
Okay.
So I know when the dancer cannot do any more, but I also know when they can do more, and then they get surprised, and then suddenly they look at the photo and it's like, I didn't know I had that in me. Like I didn't know. It's like I knew you had it, so that's why I kept like pushing to the point that you get it, and then they're like, wow, like I didn't know like I could do that. And for me, that's one of the most beautiful moments because again, for me, it's about I hate the word squeeze because or extract, but I can't find a better word. But it really, like pushing people to the limit, and again to the limits of what the human body can do, and then like seeing the surprise in their faces. For me, that's priceless.
But that's the same exact thing that happens for portrait photographers. It's like, oh, I didn't know I could look like that.
Yeah.
Or, like when you show your subject the level you're bringing them to,
Yeah.
that's when you start snowballing a client list because they tell another dancer or they
Yeah.
tell another person. Like
Yeah.
when they have a good experience and you produce something they value,
Yeah.
you're valuable.
Yeah.
Like that's what's cool about this. There is a question in the chat from
Yes.
Michael Brown. How much planning do you do for each image?
It's interesting because there's not a whole lot of planning behind each image. It's a very organic process. I meet with the dancer in a certain location. Oftentimes it's about when it's in New York, for example, it's places that I know that I understand the aesthetic and I'm looking for one thing or another. And then when we get to the one particular, and this is an interesting story. It's like one time I was walking around with a dancer and she said like, well, what are you looking for? I was like, I don't know. When I'll see it, I know it.
Right.
It's like, and at that point, then we place ourselves there. And it depends on, like you mentioned, like on the architecture and basically the geometry of the place. Then I will say, okay, let's go for something more elongated.
That's the starting point.
Yeah. Let's go for something that is, like wider or something like that. So from there, I say, okay, can you do a saison, for example, here? Do you feel comfortable doing a saison? It's like a jump with it's a very technical term for a dance, but it's like you start with like 2 legs, you jump with 2 legs, and then you open up in the air. But saison basically means that you're jumping with 2 legs as opposed to one first and the other.
Yeah, but they probably just appreciate that you know that.
Yeah.
The term and what
Yeah.
it is. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's where when I see like a lot of photographers go to workshops, they've never shot a subject that we're shooting with before. When you see the disconnect between a subject and like what that photographer's trying to get,
Yeah.
that's a big thing to get past
Yeah.
because you're guessing each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of times you don't even know what you want till you see it, but you've got to see it in a split second.
Yeah.
Or don't waste your time or their energy trying it 40 times because
Yeah.
that might not be the thing, right?
Yeah, and that's again because I know, and that's one thing that a lot of dancers appreciate, in even dancers that, especially in dancers that have never worked with me, and they're a little bit hesitant. They have worked with other photographers. They feel like they it's a guessing game, as
Yep.
you mentioned. And when they start working with me, as soon as I say, okay, let's start with an attitude, and let's make it effacé, and they go like, whoa. Like he knows the language, and then not only I know the language, but I also know how it's supposed to look like, and what's a better angle to photograph that. So then they just like completely, get their guard down and they feel more comfortable, and then at that point it's like, again, as I mentioned before, it's all right, we'll do it, and I immediately as soon as they do the first one, because that gives me like, and sometimes, for example, if I'm photographing with film, then I'll just do 1 or 2 just to look at them. It's like, all right, let me see just your saison, for example. And then I look, okay, let's try it again. Okay, this is how much, that's their extension. Or that's their extension now, but I think I can push it a little bit further. And then from there, it's almost like a sculpting game where before I take the camera, I say, okay, let's move your head a little bit more to the side. Let's move your chest a little more towards me or behind. And then I kind of sculpt it, and then I grab my camera. I say, all right, let's go.
Nice.
And then we try it a couple of times. So basically, that's more or less the planning that goes around to more or less answer the question, or to answer the question. But it's more about, and it's very much in the moment, and it's very much specifically and tailored to each person.
Yeah, and you'll hear that a lot from prolific photographers that do this seriously. Is like the camera is the last thing you pick up. You know, if you're in a studio, it's everything else, then the camera.
Yeah.
You got someone coming in front of you, they're number one. That's first.
Yeah.
But I bet you have a lot of dancers that if you ask them, they're like, I'm shooting with Omar today. He knows that I have to stretch this farther. Those toes have to point this much more.
Yeah.
They're like, I got to bring a little bit more of a harder game because it's Omar. You know what I mean?
And then they will say, it's like, man, like doing a session with me is like, with you is like, it's like a class. It's like literally going to a class, because again, I'm not just like pushing their limits. I'm actually pushing their technique. It's like, all right, I need you to turn out more. I need you to point more. I need you to give me more FSA, or, you know, like, and they really appreciate it, because they feel that they have been, you know, they feel that they accomplished something.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And I think that's with any sort of like, and I hate to even call it this, but like action photography.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you can't tell what you look like while you're doing it. You can be in front of mirrors and it doesn't matter. You're focused somewhere else.
And again, dancers are so used to being in front of mirrors that they're very concerned about their image. So when they see someone that understands their image, and then they can let go and then say, all right, he's going to protect my image. I'm going to go back to something that you said, because I remember I wanted to talk about this. Because when it comes to the environment and dance, something that I sometimes forget is that when I was living in Chicago, I stumbled upon a crew of free runners, people that do parkour. And I was I already, because I was a gymnast and I had already seen parkour when I lived in France. I loved it, because again, it was about using the elements of the city. And it's like literally using your city as your gym and your playground. And suddenly a bench is not a bench anymore. You know, it's not for sitting anymore. It's for jumping over it. It's for doing a somersault over it, or whatever, you know, it's like for doing like handstand over it, and so on and so forth. So that really triggered a lot of this series in many ways, because it was the combination of street, of everyday scenes and scenarios, and then putting an element that really, you know, like takes it to another level, takes it to another place. And for me, that's what I want people to see when they see my photos. It's like to dream, because so often we are so used to like seeing everything that we, you know, like we go to work, especially like here in New York, you know, you go to work every day, you take the train, and everything's the same. You know, the metro is the metro, the you know, like the fire hydrant is a fire hydrant. You don't pay attention to these things anymore, unless you start imagining and dreaming, like, what else could that be? Could that fire hydrant be something else? Can I use it for something else? Can it play an aesthetic role? And literally, that's, you know, like that's where I'm going with this body of work.
And I think that goes for like anything that someone's into, right? Like there's a lot of people that just go through life numb. There's a lot of people that come to the city and they notice the wrong things, I find. Yeah. And then there's people that come to the city, never saw something like this, and they notice things I walk past a million times and I'm so jaded by. Yeah. But in the end, like when I was heavy in BMX, all I saw was rails, ledges. Exactly. What can I jump? What can I get through? Exactly. Then it was like when I was heavy in graffiti culture, like there's a blank spot. I can reach that. Like you see it differently. And I think it's fun. It's really fun when you see like through the matrix a little bit and you go, look what's available to you and look what you can do to speak to someone else. So like anytime you're putting something out there, it's a language, right? Yeah. I mean, some dancer out there is aspiring and sees an Omar Robles shot in a street that they walk down every day and go, you know what? Like, yeah, I guess I could jump on this cobblestone and make like something like I think there's an aspiration point to that too, because they probably walk every day and go, I have to wait till I get to the class to do this. Yeah. Do you? Because that looks like something, but there's also this flip side. We were talking about this before, which I kind of want to ask you about. A lot of photographers now are trying to go for shock value to get like a lot of likes, right? Yeah. And I think they put a lot of subjects in danger. I think some of you guys that watch my channel know what I'm talking about. But lately I've been seeing a lot of like, let's put this dancer on an I-beam over a bridge. And I'm like, okay, you want to risk your life? I can't tell you what to do, but there's a car that's driving that you might fall on that's scarred for life because you fell. Like, what's the responsibility level for you personally when it comes to something like that? And your dancer, like where's your line? You know, again, for me, my priority is to the dancer. So I feel a great responsibility in protecting them, because at the end of the day, they're doing this because they find the same passion that I have in telling a story, in, you know, in creating something along with me. But this is their job, so I can't put at risk their job for like a photo. Even though it's my job.
but I'm not selfish that way, right? Like for me, it's more about it's about both of us, and most importantly about them. So I put a lot of emphasis in trying to protect their bodies, protect their lives, and I will never put a dancer at danger. And there's been times that they want to do it themselves, and I even was like, no, we're not doing it. Like they come up with the idea, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't let you do that. There was like when I was in Puerto Rico a few years ago. Actually, I think that the episode that I did with for Adorama I did an episode for Adorama when Sal was doing the series about behind the lens.
Oh, TTL?
TTL, yeah. So he did one with me in Puerto Rico, and like one of the dancers is a great friend, and she was pregnant, and we were on top of a building.
Wait, what?
We were on top of a building, like on top, like on the rooftop.
She came to you pregnant and was like, "I want to do this."
Yeah. And then, which is fine, women can do amazing things while they're pregnant. But the thing is that she kept getting closer to the edge. I'm like, no, Laura, come closer. It's like, no, I can. It's like, no, I don't. It's like,
it's not worth
it's
it.
not just your life. It's like your life and your baby's life. No, like just come closer to me and away from the edge. So yeah, yeah.
Fernando, if you're in the chat, can you find this link and put it in the chat, please? I have to see this episode. I don't remember that at all. Like that's in the video.
I'm sure there's not the moment that I'm telling.
Oh yeah, okay. I was like, man, no. I mean, it's really interesting to like, where's the line, right? Because I'm sure there's even a line where it's like, it's not even that crazy of an idea, but if you stress yourself out today and your ankle goes and you can't do that job on Broadway later, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a big deal. That's why, for example, I start every session. Every single session, I start asking them to warm up. They're like, no, I already came. No, I don't care. Warm up. Take 15 minutes, warm up. Sometimes because I was young at some point, and I knew that like I was young at some point, and I knew that if I asked my body to do something, I could do it. Right. But then eventually you pay the consequences for that, right? So a lot of the dancers that I work with, they're mostly young, so they will be happy to start, working right away. I'm like, no, let's take our time.
Yeah.
Let's warm up. Take 15, 10, 30 minutes. I don't care. I'm not in a hurry. Let's just warm up. And then they warm up. And that time, for example, if it's a dancer that I'm just meeting, I take that time to just get to know them a little bit more, and just have a conversation. And even if it's like a dancer that I've been working with for years, then I catch up. It's like that's the moment that I catch up. And again, you take that time to develop a rapport with the person as well. But yeah, it's for me, it's an essential part of the process because it's part also of protecting their bodies.
Yeah, when I shot a little bit of ballet years ago, like, gosh, 2006, I think. What stuck in my head a lot was these girls kept telling me that like they have basically a 5-year career, like they only have a short window to really do what they're doing, and it's like, oh my gosh, like let's get as many shots as we can. But then you realize that every time you're injured, that's another few weeks, another few months. Where could you have gone? Like that's still stuck in my head. Yeah. Anthony G. Photo saying, I agree, as photographers, we have responsibility to keep the models safe. A lot of times the models are trusting us. And Craig C. is saying, yes, people put people in high-risk situations, certainly without safety protocols, drives me nuts. Just saw someone pose a cheerleader on top of a goalpost. One example, unreal. Yeah. Well, it's one thing if they pose them, but look, I'm for pushing things. But if you don't have proper protocols that someone leaves your set the same way they came in, if you want to be a pro, that means you've got to be responsible as a pro. Yeah. The video I did a while ago was they were setting people on fire for sports shots for high school students. I'm like, was there EMTs right there? Was there fire professionals right there? Was someone ready with the fire? No, there wasn't. So you didn't even take the time to really plan that shoot out. Some of the shoots that I see out there with the dancers, I don't think you can. Like you're literally over a bridge. You're like, what could you do? Put a harness on them and Photoshop it out or whatever. Or they do this stuff in the train, which gets me a little like, because this is gonna sound so grim, but if you're from New York, some things happen on the train, but it doesn't just affect them. Everyone on that train, the person driving that train is scarred for life. It's not just you.
Don't get me started on that because again, I'm not even. It's
It's
not
got
even
some
about.
ring.
It's not even about dance at this point. But like I'm probably gonna get like a lot of hate for this. But it's like this whole thing with like rooftoping that was very popular a while back, and it's kind of like making a comeback
What is
now.
rooftoping to you?
Rooftoping is like people photographing, breaking into buildings, photographing from like the top of buildings, and how do you call this? Like
Repelling?
rappelling or going up, like towers and stuff like that. A lot of this stuff is done, unsanctioned, unprotected. It's about, it's all about the risk. It's all about the shock factor and the videos.
Yeah.
And for me, it's again one of those things where like, what happens if your camera falls? What happens if you fall? What happens if like you're not just putting yourself at danger, you're putting other people at danger. You're putting, possibly pedestrians at danger, but also you're putting like rescue crews at danger if like they have to come
Right.
and save you. So I don't want to dwell on that.
No, I don't want to
subject,
dwell on that either. But
but that's just one of those things that again, when we come to look, and it's really a lot of the factor of social media because way back in the day, like some people will do stuff like that. They will take their own responsibility but now it's become a lot of this stuff, even the dance stuff, has become viral to the point that everyone wants to do it, but they're doing it for the wrong reasons. And most of the reasons that they're doing it is just because they want attention. They want to get likes. They want just to be seen.
right.
And yeah, at that point, the artistry, in my opinion, it's
Well,
gone.
let's go to a little upbeat.
Yeah.
So Sal, who produced this episode,
Yes.
actually posted this in the chat.
Yeah.
This is Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, this is Puerto Rico. That's right after that was like about a year or 6 months after Hurricane Maria had hit. So that's why you see a lot
That's
of
a cool skirt.
so that skirt. It's a my wife designed that. My wife is a fashion designer, so she designed some of the costumes. So you see her there working. And this is the rooftop.
Is that a rooftop?
Shot. Yeah,
Is that a rooftop, Omar?
that's a rooftop. But again, we were like not
Yeah,
not
I get
in
it.
the
I'm with
edge.
that.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm messing with you.
No, but
Right.
we have permission to be in the rooftop.
It's also cool to shoot translucent material into
Yeah.
sunsets. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you think you'd apply some of your images? When I look at your stuff, sometimes it sounds crazy, but I'm almost like, I'd like to see a playing card deck. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I like to see like a set of postcards that you don't actually send somewhere. You just collect a set of postcards.
Yeah,
Like,
that's an interesting idea.
because a lot of your stuff, I feel it's not that it's tourism, but it's of the city of wherever you're in anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do have a book that I published about two years ago when I was collaborating as an ambassador for Lightroom. I did publish a book, and a lot of the book the book is about dancers of color, and throughout in different parts of the world. So from my idea was to highlight dancers of color all through not just New York City but all through the world. And it's one of those things that it's really about the dancers, but it's also about the locations.
Yeah. And do you like, if you're going somewhere that you don't live, like, are you scouting it out like Google Maps or like
A little bit. Sometimes it depends on like what time, like how much time I have realistically just beforehand, because I'm doing other things as well. But yeah, I do scout a little bit on Google. Otherwise, when I get there, I do a few photo walks beforehand, so just that I get to know the city.
That's cool.
And if I don't even have the time to do that, then I kind of ask the dancers for reference, and then they send me some locations. I Google them, and then I decide if I want to go there or sometimes like the location. The location for me, it's just as important, but at times, like I hope this doesn't sound like arrogant, but I know that I can create something beautiful anywhere in many ways, because
It's just confidence. It's all right.
it's confidence, but it's also like it's knowledge, it's experience at this point. So,
Well, I think people also overlook the fact that it's like, oh, it's a building. I'm shooting at another building.
Yeah.
What could I do with a building? Oh, there's windows. They reflect. How could I use this? Like you have the same notes. You build this stack of skills and you play those cards when it's times of right,
Exactly.
Oh, it's sun setting. I'll shoot this direction.
Exactly.
It's all the same thing. You're just shooting forms and dancers. What do you do as far as like lenses? So you go wider? Are you more like are you farther away? Do you feel it's important for you to be closer?
I need to be close enough so that I can communicate. It's funny because
They can't hear you.
because I often have a time again, me being a mime, I was a mime for a reason. I always had a problem with speech. I can't enunciate my words properly, and so on and so forth. So I have a tendency of mumbling. So even sometimes, it's like I'm like in front of my wife. She's like, "What did you just say?" Like I literally like you're in front of me and I can't hear you. So I have like I need to be close enough so that I can like, and if I'm projecting and I can do it. But like usually it's gonna be somewhere on like. I don't like to go too far. So 200 is too far for me. Like 200 millimeters is too far for me. I'm usually somewhere around 85, 75, 50 range. So that I'm close enough that we can have a communication. But then I create enough separation and enough compression in the background so that the dancer really highlights. Unless there's for a particular reason then that I want to like exaggerate a little bit the proportions, and then I go wider. So 35, 28.
And I notice you don't use a lot of lighting. Is there like a reason for that? Like, do you really like rust
Safety.
on the, really? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, safety is part of it, and then also just, again, the way that I work is so organic that if I end up, like having to like schedule like an assistant for lighting and all this stuff, then for me, it kind of makes the process a little bit more tedious and a little bit more sanitary, for lack of a better word. So I like to work fast, move fast, and oftentimes I'm literally dead on in the middle of the street. So if I have to like manage 3 people at the same time,
Right.
it becomes a little bit harder. So usually I'll just use available light. This is something that I learned on early on in my in my career as a photographer. Light is light, so you just take advantage of light. It's about using it.
You have no desire to do things like shutter drag, like freeze, get some blur going, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So, I mean,
I've never really done a lot of that. I played a little bit with that, and then I played with double exposures as well. But for the most part, when I think about, as you mentioned earlier, it's like, is that when is that moment where the extension is at its fullest? That's like a fraction of a second, even less. So I don't want to miss that.
yeah.
Because that's the moment that they worked for like all their life. So
Yeah.
I don't want to miss that. I also don't want to do a disservice to that by like dragging the shutter. And I mean, I've tried it, and you can, I think in Hong Kong I did it for one of the sessions that I did. Like I did use a flash, and then I did a little bit of shutter dragging so that the flash would go on at the moment. So it was interesting because then I wasn't timing the click of the camera for the I have the word for the climax of the movement. I had to like direct someone to push the flash
Right.
at that point. So that became really complicated.
Yeah. I mean, shutter drag was like a lot of my career. I think I got typecasted for that, which, what typecasting's
Yes.
like. But I think a lot of people use it as a gimmick rather than a technique to highlight or excel what they're trying to show. And I think your reasoning for this is exactly what I'm talking about is you don't want any distractions from the pinnacle moment.
Yeah.
So there you go. We'll just throw a thesaurus up here one day. But, for me, like when I shot BMX, like I needed to be as crazy dynamic as possible. Yeah. It also was the most beautiful thing all the time. It was just some sweaty dude going hard or whatever. But like what they're doing is like, the body form is like that. What I will say though is as far as technical, like you could dial that in so that you're controlling that strobe when you want to strobe, whatever. But I think too many people throw too many techniques at something and it becomes too distracting from what you're actually shooting. Yeah. And then it's like, what is the shot? Which is the first question I tell everybody. What is the shot? Is it them? Is it what they're wearing? Is it the city? Is it their form? Is it the time of day? Is it the mood? You gotta make those decisions.
I think a lot of that stuff, it's like when we're learning, we learn all the techniques and then we want to use them.
Just blow them every time. I know.
Yeah. And then at some point, I think with experience, you start finding your language and you start finding, and that's okay. I think, again, one of the sad things about social media has done a lot of great things. And even for my career, it's done a lot of great things. But I think for the growing professional or the emerging artist, oftentimes it can be a disservice because they're chasing after clout and they try to use all the techniques. And at some point, I think, you learn through experimentation and that's fine. You'll try a lot of things and like I said, eventually you'll find your language. But when you're doing that, not for yourself, but for others, then it can hinder you from eventually finding your own language because you're always trying to cater to someone else. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you are your first audience. You got to be your first audience. It has something that speaks to you, touches you, moves you. And that's why, again, when I found And this is not something that was too far away from me. You know, it's like dance was always part of my training. But when I find it in my photography, it took some time. It took me having to like separate from like everything that everyone else, all my peers were doing at that time. And it took a lot of time of loneliness because I was doing this by myself. I was just exploring this by myself. A lot of people were not understanding it. And it got to a point that almost after a year of doing it, I was like, I don't even know if I can do this anymore. Like it's tiring. And then boom, you know, like it was like a rush of appreciation and everybody started getting it. But I think also that at that time I was starting to get it. I was starting to really understand what was my language, what was like what I wanted to express. And it, you know, it made a world difference. So again, it's fine for people to experiment with different techniques. The sad thing is that they're doing it in front of other people now, like for social media, and then it can hinder people's growth. So to photographers, I say experiment, play, do everything, but then do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And then once you find that you have, because one thing that I would say is about finding your own language is that you know it when you get there. It's like a joke. You know when it's funny. If it's not funny to you, it's not funny.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing to develop as any type of creative is like your perspective, point of view, style, voice, all that stuff. And you're not going to know it till you go through it. And you're going to change as a human and you're going to mature and things are going to change. There's things I shot a million years ago that like today I'd be like, that was all gimmicks. Like, what am I doing? You know? And it's one of those things that you're right. It does hinder you. And I always tell people, not everything you shoot has to be for everybody. You can just have those folders on your computer that are just those shots you're happy with for whatever reason. Yeah. You put out there what you want to be known for, what you want people that represents you. It's just kind of crazy when people chase after what they think is trending or what they think people want to see. And then, so then you become a servant to the audience rather than, like you said, it starts with you, right? After you, if you don't care about it, it gets diluted every time someone sees it. So you have to care about the most. The next audience that cares about it will never care about it as much as you do. Yeah. They're never going to know how much work and sweat. No one knows how many times it took for you to get that shot, or that dancer to even get to that place. It took 6 years for them to get that amount of flexibility and ability to jump that high. They don't know all that. Yeah. So they care the most. Yeah. Then there's some person that has no idea about dance and goes, well, that's a pretty shot. Yeah. And they go hit like, and that's easy and free. But it starts with you and it dilutes from you. So you have to care about it the most.
Yeah, you have to care about it the most. You know.
It's kind of crazy. How you guys doing in that chat? I know you're kind of quiet because you guys just listen. And yeah, some 50, 60 of you watching. Let's hit like for Omar. He feeds his family with likes. I don't know if you guys know this or not. But you guys have seen a lot of this type of dance photography over in Instagram land, I'm sure. But I think when you see Omar's work, you kind of feel it different. It hits different. It's got there's like a mood and a tone to it. The way you shoot and the time of day you choose and the places you pick. Like there's just an elegance to it. Are you ever getting bored? Like, is there ever like, all right, enough cobblestone. All right, enough like.
Yes, I will say yes. It gets to a point that then you start craving and trying different things. And I'm at a point right now in my career where I've done the dance work for at least 10 years straight. I think last time I counted, I had photographed somewhere around 500 plus dancers. I think I counted, it was like 30 to 40 cities.
How cool is that?
And it's amazing. And I love it. And I definitely think this is always going to be part of my identity as an artist. But right now, I'm doing it a little bit less, and I'm prioritizing more significant sessions with dancers rather than just, like trying to do more stuff for feeding the social media algorithm. I'm concentrating more in my street photography work because it's another part of me as an artist that I love, and there's such a amazing feeling for me when I'm out in the streets photographing people. Again, it's about really appreciating everyday life. It's about appreciating every single moment, and I have a thirst for living that and for sharing and for just the human experience. I have a love-hate relationship with humans in general. I love them, but I hate them. But I really, really love them, and it's this thing of just being here, being alive that I'm grateful for. Yeah. And I have to go out with my camera and photograph it and portray it and talk about my experience. And whether it's New York City or other cities, it's like how cool. And again, you have to be, this is something, my brother is a journalist and a photographer as well.
In the chat, actually.
Yeah, he was in the chat. I don't know if he's still around, but one of the first things that I learned from him, he was one of my first mentors, and one of the first things that I learned from him is like a camera is a very powerful weapon, right? And you can use it for doing a lot of good, but you can also do a lot of damage with it if you don't know how to yield it properly. And I learned so much as a human being of just having my camera in my hand and then being able to like make connections. And sometimes I'm traveling, people ask me to make their portraits, and I do it gladly. But oftentimes I'll go to people and say like, hey, like, can I make your portrait? There's something, and then we have a small conversation, and like, how cool is that you can just like get in touch with another human being, man. Like, we live, especially in like our society now, we live so jaded and apart from each other. We're always on our phones. We're always trying to get like instant gratification through our screens, that we forget oftentimes that there's other people around us. And like, I'm hardly with my phone on my hands anymore, on the train and all this stuff, because I want to watch people. I want to experience the people around me. So, and then I have my camera, and then, like I can have like those interactions, whether I'm directly connecting with you and having a conversation with you to make your portrait, or whether I'm making, photos of, candid moments. It's really all about appreciating everything that I see around me. And it's a way for me to be thankful.
I think that's the hard. I'm going to sound jaded, but I think it's really hard to appreciate what's around you and feel grateful. Look, I've been in New York my whole life. I have to keep reminding myself how crazy that is.
Yeah.
Like, people strive for their whole lives to get here, and they go like, well, look at these stickers. Look at this. That's crazy. It's like, I seen it every day. It's not special to me anymore, but knock yourself out taking pictures of it. When I got to go shoot street, it's like I have to pull it out of me, because I'm like, I see this every day. It's very hard to genuinely generate care about something. If you do find something, one of the things I find very that I'm grateful for now is, after doing this for like 2+ decades, I don't guess anymore. I know how I'm going to shoot it. I now have the techniques dialed down to shoot it, and I'm able to create something right there, and it'll be worth it.
Yeah, because at that point you're not thinking about it anymore.
Right,
it's second nature. And again, it goes back to like learning your craft, and then it just becomes second nature. And then you're not thinking about the technique, you're just thinking about the moment. You're really seeing life for what it is at that point. And this might sound like maybe cliche or whatever, but that's when like mindfulness comes in. For me, it's like I'm trying to be very mindful of what I'm photographing, respectful and grateful for the life that I still have. And it's true, like, especially like you're in New York City, it becomes like these things that you see every day. But then again, it's like I'm photographing with a purpose. Like, I have things in my head, and like I'm doing this because I love it. So then then it's a purposeful practice, rather than doing it because, social media or whatever. I really have like a purposeful practice that I'm after, photographing certain things that I have a long-standing series photographing hats. I'm a hat person, like I love hats. So like I have a long-standing series that I'm, doing with hats. It's a silly thing, but they call out to me. It's something that talks to me about personality, about expression. And then I go for that. I go for different things.
Have you ever had sessions, probably earlier on, when you've worked with somebody and you just, nothing hit, it just wasn't that day? Has there been ones you just walked away and like, maybe we got, I don't know,
Not so much. I would say I've been really fortunate in that sense. I will have days where I doubt myself a little bit more, and I come home and like my wife is like, how did the session go? And I'm like, horrible. I think I didn't get one good shot, one good photo. And then, I sit down in my computer and it's like,
not that bad, right?
Not that bad. I think I knew what I was doing, but it's just emotionally maybe I wasn't there. But then again, exactly, the training is there, the knowledge is there. You're just in your head because of
you're in your head. Exactly.
Because whatever is happening that day or whatever, and you're doubting yourself. But even at moments of doubt, because you have done the work already, then it just becomes second nature. But yeah, I mean, there has been, I guess, maybe once or twice, and again, I've been very fortunate with the people that I work with the dancers that I work with, that maybe I can say there's been like, honestly, in my career, maybe one or two experiences that were not, let's say, suboptimal, but never a bad experience.
Yeah, or a waste, right?
Yeah, never been a waste of time. It's never been, that kind of.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and again, it becomes such a like. it's a very interesting rapport, and I was talking. I've been talking about this with some of the dancers. It's like, I don't know, the relationship that you get to build, and a lot of the dancers that I work with, I started working with them when they were fresh out of college, for example, and now this is gonna age me so much. And now they're getting married and having kids,
Yeah.
and I'm part of that in one way or another, and how grateful,
Cool.
can I be for that?
Yeah, it's funny how much you get locked in your head, or how much you set expectations for yourself. I mean, if you ask Fernando when we got to do a new product release, I got to go do something. I'll be like, what'd you get? I'm like, I don't think I got anything. I think it's all trash shots, all trash. And then somehow every time you scrape something out of that card, and you're like, that wasn't that bad, But you always you set
You're in
these
your
like,
head,
once you get a little bit, you expect it of yourself, and if you don't beat yourself up, I feel you're not gonna elevate. I feel like I always have to be better. I always have to hate my what I'm doing, hate myself. I feel like you're all love, I'm all hate.
No,
I don't know what to tell you, man.
I've been no. I hear you, and I've been there, and I think you're. I think it's a different experience, but it's very much there's the same goal. It's about betterment. Is that a word?
Betterment.
Yeah.
That's actually an app for retirement funding, but sure.
It's about
Improving.
getting better.
Improving
I would say improvement. And I think betterment. I don't know.
It's a new word now. We're using it forever.
I think we're looking after the same thing. I think it's just a different approach. Again, I've been in my head. I've been like completely disappointed at myself, but it gets to the point that you know what you're doing. You just in your head and you're thinking about it too much. But then again, that's when I am grateful, because then I see it. I'm like, okay, it wasn't that bad. I have to give myself a little bit of credit. And I think again, I guess I've done a lot of work in certain areas that I start allowing myself to, because again, I come from a point of view that I used to be, oh my God, we're getting psychological now, but like,
man.
I beat myself up all the time, and there's a lot of guilt involved in like just wanting to be better, and like as a photographer, as an artist, as a human being, that then you start bringing yourself down, and at some point it's like, man, I'm here. Like I've been doing, like I'm out here doing this. Like so many times I go out and I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it, but I'm out there. And then I give myself credit. I'm like, you know what? Kudos to me for like going out there and putting myself even when I'm not feeling like it.
I know. I say that to myself all the time. Like I come back, because I live in Brooklyn, I'll come back from like wherever, and I'm like, I'm glad you did that today. Like, just tell yourself, you picked up the camera that was 2 tons when it was sitting on that desk, but you went and did something, and that exists now, which it wouldn't have before. And then years go by and you start realizing why that image exists still, because you pushed yourself to go do it. It's tough though. It's a huge hill, especially if you're a solo human being and you've got to be like, no one's going to tell you to go do this.
No one's going to tell you to do this.
I once had a guy I worked for tell me no one ever had to tell him to go shoot, and that's how he knew he was doing what he was supposed to be doing. But I think he was in his 60s, and he was shooting like it was day one. Like I was like, man, I hope I have this guy's energy and like drive for it. And I think, we're in a world that keeps on changing more and more and more. I hate to bring this up because I feel like we're on a good track here, but like, where do you feel like, do you think AI is going to start playing a role in the images being authentic that people care about? Like if they just generated dance image.
Well, I mean, from a technological point of view, I hope that's where the content credentials initiative by Adobe and Leica and a lot of these brands that are getting on board now. I really hope that it gets to a point that it's not just encrypted in the file itself. I hope that it gets to a point that it's blockchain level, that when you create an image, it's encrypted with your signature, and then it goes on the blockchain immediately, so that it's protected in one way or another. But what's happening? There you go. It's fine. So I hope that we get to that point from a technological point of view, so that there's authenticity in the images from an ethical point of view, from a news gathering point of view, so that we know that what we're seeing is authentic, and we're not just being fed some kind of like narrative.
Value in it for yourself, for what you're doing?
I think, and I hope more than anything, is that people start appreciating more the craft, because they know that it could be done so easily with this other thing, but this person is actually taking their time to do it.
But I think your shots have to be authentic. Your shots of someone's ability is the same thing as documenting a portrait of someone's honest self. Like I don't think you can generate what you do. I think that dancer wants to see where they were at that point in time.
Yet, being realistically, yet I don't think I've tried just for fun. I've tried to try, and then obviously they come out with like 3 legs or something like that, but I think
They never get hands right.
yeah,
Right?
I think at some point they're gonna get it right. But then again, I'm not particularly scared about AI in that sense. I definitely fear for AI. I mean, regarding AI in terms of like creatives work, like for like marketing and so on and so forth, because I think realistically they're gonna be able to just like push out marketing images and they are doing it already on videos as well. So I do fear for that particular sector of the creative industry. But I do think that when it comes to artistry, to like just art in general, I think and I hope that people will then get a higher appreciation for the craft,
The authentic.
because the authentic craft, because you could have done it with AI, but you're doing it manually. So I mean, I guess that's in a way, and I was kind of in that camp for a while. In a way, that's why there's more interest in film photography now as well, because people are really seeing the value of like the tactile and actually like a product that comes out of like a physical product that comes out of a camera in one way or another. And I can see how that comparing it to AI, how there's like people can see a higher value in that, at least from the craftsmanship point of view.
So do you think that you're going to stick to photo as a medium? Do you think like maybe there's a world for more video oriented for what you're doing?
No, I hate video.
You hate video? Yeah.
Not that I hate video, but I don't enjoy editing it. And that's the one part that like it's troublesome for me. So I really love the still image, and I really love like street photography, and again all this like things that you can do in the moment. That I've done video and people appreciate it when I do. The same with writing. People appreciate
you
it.
don't care at all. You're like,
Yeah, it's like the same with writing. People like when I write stuff, people appreciate it, but it takes me so much time and effort to write something that I'm like, So that's when I use ChatGPT.
Oh man. Well, I think that's one of the things that video people and photo people, we work at 2 different speeds. Photo people like, now go quick, bang, got it. No, it's this image, that one frame. Video people like, well, we're going to get all these moving parts. Over the next week, we'll piece it together. I'm already over it. I don't care about it anymore. I'm done. When I'm shooting, I'm already over it while I'm shooting it. And you're going to tell me we're going to spend the next month making this? No, I'm good,
Yeah.
But it's a different, people think it's the same type of creative, but it's not.
No, it's not. And sadly, that's a lot what happened in the journalism industry, right? Like they started sending photographers to the video, and then even started sending writers to the photos. And they, and this is like back at least 10 years ago or more that they started. I remember when I was living in Chicago that the Chicago Tribune like fired all the photography staff and then basically just made writers go out with their iPhones and
happened here. Daily News. Remember that? Daily News let go. The day it happened, it was flooded with all these people that got let go from the news. I was like, how did this just went? And they were like, they didn't see a value. They just cared about filling the pages with, because the people that are ingesting the images aren't sitting there looking to be impacted by fine art, right? But I think now we're seeing the importance of like photojournalism having an impact rather than just getting a shot. I mean, if you look at things that are being pushed around out there, the images that make it out of all the stack and all the noise are the ones that are shot beautifully and make an impact and take a moment, take a second. I mean, we're in some crazy times right now, and I think
I don't want to bring up that.
Okay, don't worry about it. All right.
But we know what we're talking about.
No, it's all right. I mean, but that's the other thing about your work, though, is it can be timeless.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is, it just sounds so dumb. Sometimes I check the cars that are parked around in your images. I'm like, oh, that was from like 10 years ago. Oh, that was like, and I think one day you're going to look back. Oh, remember the taxi cabs were those cars? Oh, look, those are all Teslas that are Ubers or whatever. Like I think that's kind of interesting as well.
I tell you, there's obviously there's a moment that when COVID came, I kind of didn't want to photograph for some time for obvious reasons. But when I started going out and started photographing, I'm a self-admitted germaphobe in many ways. So I mean, I control it
In New York?
Exactly.
Good
like
luck.
I can control it. I can like be rational about it, but I just don't like getting sick in general. So it's like,
Oh, I love it. What are you talking about? It's the best time. What are you?
so when I started photographing dancers again, during that period of time, I think one of the first sessions, I'm happy to admit this, one of the first sessions, like, I don't know so much about the mask, so let's keep the mask off because I don't want to affect the aesthetic of the photos. And then she ended up like sneezing. I was like, no, let's put the mask back on and let's just keep masks on. So in the beginning, I was a little bit concerned about it, like about the visual aspect of it. And then one dancer herself, she reminded me of it, and she said, like, listen, people are gonna see these photos like 10, 20 years from now, and they're not gonna know exactly when they were and why people, and then it become like, oh, it's interesting because we went through that. I still have PTSD when I see people with masks in the street now, and I think they're important when they're needed. But yeah, from like a historic point of view, then it becomes important.
Or like, how about the streets were completely vacant? Like you're doing what you do at Times Square when no one was in there, like mind blowing, right? Like just apocalyptic feeling. Like you would have to get permits like no tomorrow and pay like crazy to clear out Times Square to do that, or green screen or whatever. But I think that's one of the moments about New York that I get kind of hyped up about. Remember when the fires were happening in Canada and the whole city was orange? Yeah. So many people rushed out to shoot. And I was like, this is kind of cool. As crazy as this is, and as horrible as it is, it's kind of the shared community moment. Or when there's a crazy blizzard, everybody gets out there and starts shooting, like, or the eclipse. Yeah. There was a moment during the eclipse, was it last summer, where I just noticed everyone stopped in New York. And that's a moment when people stop and everyone's like this, and you're next to complete strangers, but you're talking in New York. I don't think you understand this if you're not from New York. That's very
New York
cool.
now. I would say New York now because I remember I lived here, and I don't know how long you've been here, but I remember I lived here back in 2002. You could
that was a
start
different
conversation.
time.
Yeah.
That was 9/11. Don't start that.
Because but I'm saying you could start conversation with people in the train.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, like before 9/11, you still didn't really mess with each other until you like really needed to. But something about the bonding that happened. Yeah, right, Teresa?
Interesting.
It was so weird. Like I remember I was young, and I just remember going like not remembering talking to people this much because you all shared this psychotic moment of 2002. They were still in the air, tasted like ash. So people, and I think that's an important thing to realize especially with what we do is we're pulling out these milliseconds of actual history. World and life. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that maybe that's something you can focus on going forward is like, you've done all the.
Don't tell me what to do.
I'll tell you everything. You're on my show. But think about it. Like you've done so many dancers in so many different cities also. Now include an element of the time. Yeah. That might be the next challenge, right? To keep it from going. Hey, what's going on, Alex? How are you? Man, we are at the hour, man.
We are?
See? Told you.
It goes fast.
We got to get you in here to do a class or a talk or something, man. I feel like we haven't done much with you in a while. I think the last time we did anything was that SL2 Leica video.
We did that SL2 Leica video, yeah. I did teach actually, it's a stupid story, but that's when I started growing my beard for the first time. It's like I did a street photography workshop here with, it was a Street Dreams magazine.
Oh yeah, Street Dreams. So yeah.
They did a series, and I did like and
Steve Sweatpants and all those guys.
The week before that, I had a cold, and I felt like horrible, and I didn't shave. So I came to the class like without shaving, and then I was like, I'm just not gonna shave. And then I started growing my beard. And that's, it's like maybe over 10 years ago. And that I started growing my beard live here.
Someone even wrote in the chat before we went live, they're like, man, with a beard like that, this is going to be epic. I was like, okay, interesting. But, you are constantly all over the place sharing. I think you share like crazy. Like you're never like, so you know what we're about with this event space. You totally come through. You want to teach something. Photo walks would be very cool. The weather's getting amazing right now. So we'll step on that. Don't forget to check out Adorama.com/events. So if Omar starts doing some classes here, you guys can stay up on that. You guys can follow him right there. Bink. Is there anything you want to shout out before,
No, just keep following my journey if you want. Be part of it. Comment. Tell me your thoughts, and I'm happy to learn from everyday people. And it happens to me sometimes. People like send me a message like, "Oh, I saw you in the street, but I didn't want to say come over and say hi.
Yeah, just don't be weird about it.
Don't be weird.
Don't be weird about
it. It happened once. It happened one time in Mexico. Like we were like, I was with my wife, and there's like just people, and she was like, "There's people following us." I'm like,
That's
nah.
wild.
And then like a half an hour after, they're still after us. It's like, and then finally they came over. It's like, "Oh, we're sorry. We've been following your stories, and we're fans." Like, that's fine. It's
That
just
happened to me
kinda
at
creepy.
Comic-Con, but some kid was following me, and then I turned around, I was like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "I know who you are. Can you help me set this?" He handed me his camera. I was like, "Whatever, man. It's fine. I'm happy to help wherever I can."
Yeah.
But that's also very cool. It shows you're making an impact.
Yeah,
Shows
definitely.
people are connecting with what you're
Yeah,
putting out there. And there's nothing worse than creating something and it goes into a void
Into the
and
void,
nothing
yeah.
comes out.
Yeah.
So very cool. So keep that in mind. Next time you guys are ingesting someone's work, drop a comment. Tell them, say what's up. Let them know how it's affecting you or whatever.
Shout out to germaphobes.
Yeah, shout out to germaphobes. Listen, guys, don't forget, check out Adorama Events, the other channel on YouTube for the stuff that comes out of here. Because if Omar comes back, that's where it's going to be streamed. Okay, guys? Check out the Adorama Cinema channel. That's new if you guys want to learn about color grading and mics and, codecs and all the crazy cinema stuff. That's the channel for you guys. And don't forget, Adorama.com/events. If you're going to be coming to New York, check out what's going on. We will be at WPPI next week in Vegas, booth 824. I'll be doing demos. I'm on 3 stages. I'm doing the lighting summit. I'm going to come back dead. But Omar, thank you so much for joining us.
so
And
much.
it's always good to see you. You got to come through some more.
Yeah,
I really hope you do a class here. I'm not
Yeah,
just
no,
saying
no.
that. Book it.
Definitely.
Make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
We're going to make it
Make it
happen.
happen.
Guys, thank you guys so much. I will see you soon. And don't forget to check out, 50 other episodes we have of this. Yeah, we're up to episode 50 coming up soon. So if you're into this, check out the rest of the Coffee with Creator. Oh my gosh. I almost made it the whole way. Check out the rest of the Coffee with Creators playlist right here on AdoramaTV. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe. There's a reason 1.3 million people did hit that subscribe button. All right, guys? We will see you on the next one. Be good, guys.